Protests across the United States over the situation in Ferguson, peaceful demonstrations, closing down highways, bridges, but it's not just about Ferguson, it's about the treatment by police that many communities believe is unfair when it comes to minorities. Joining us now from New York is the New York Democratic Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. He's a member of the House Judiciary Committee, also a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on, Wolf.
I know you issued a statement saying that the grand jury decision in Ferguson is a miscarriage of justice. Why do you say that?
Well, the entire process from beginning to end was riddled with problems, unfair processes and inequalities. First, another young, unarmed African-American man was gunned down by a police bullet. It happens far too often in America. It happened recently in the district that I represent, and that should disturb us all. Second, the initial reaction by the Ferguson Police Department, where they conducted themselves as if this was a military operation on American soil, should be disturbing, and it's something for us to look into and correct. Then the entire manner in which the county prosecutor conducted himself, whether that was incompetence or intentional indifference, or whether there was manipulation of the grand jury, whatever the case was, the outcome was problematic and was brought about as a result of some of the ways in which the prosecutors conducted themselves before that grand jury. Michael Brown was someone who was unarmed. He had just graduated from high school. He had no criminal record. He was on his way to college. He was shot dead in a manner that left questions to be asked about whether excessive force was used. He was left on the street for 4.5 hours to bake in the hot August sun. Ferguson Police Department overreacted in terms of their military-style conduct. And then you had a grand jury that made a mockery of the system in terms of how the prosecutors conducted themselves.
Well, what do you say to the, I don't know if you saw it, but the police officer, Darren Wilson, he gave an interview to George Stephanopoulos on ABC News in which he said he felt threatened by Michael Brown, that at the end, Michael Brown was charging, running after him in effect, and he says he had no choice but to shoot and kill in order to save his own life.
Well, this is why there was a breakdown of the grand jury process, which should have, in my view, returned at least an indictment based on probable cause that involuntary manslaughter existed, and then a trial court could have sorted this all out for the American people, most importantly for the family of Michael Brown and for the Ferguson community. The shots that were fired that ultimately killed Michael Brown were fired from about 150 feet away. That is what the physical evidence establishes, even though the officer's testimony was very different in terms of what he presented. But the physical evidence suggests that he was 150 feet away. It doesn't seem reasonable to me, to people that I represent, and to a lot of folks across America, that his life was in jeopardy at that particular moment in time with such a distance.
Because he also argues that initially when he told Michael Brown and his friend who were jaywalking to get on the sidewalk, Michael Brown, he alleges, went over to the car, punched him a few times in the face, and tried to get his gun out of his holster. You heard that testimony.
Yes, well, there's conflicting witness testimony about that encounter. Certainly there was some sort of exchange over the car or in the car, and that should be sorted out in a trial. Now, thankfully, Wolf, the state process is over, but there is still a federal process, a civil rights investigation by the Department of Justice that can now take center stage. It's an investigation that has a lot more credibility, in my view, and hopefully can restore some of the confidence that has been lost in the criminal justice system.
So you want the Justice Department to continue. It's two separate investigations right now. Are you confident that they'll come up with some charges, or are you not so confident?
Well, you know, I'm confident that the process will be fair, will result in a full and comprehensive investigation, different from what took place by the county prosecutor. And so that should give us some measure of comfort as it relates to the process moving forward. But I think we're going to have to deal with systematic change in the manner in which police departments interact with communities of color. It's a problem that has been in existence for decades, and we continue our failure to confront this problem in a meaningful way. I don't want to find ourselves back having this conversation a month or two from now with a different tragedy in a different community, but the same set of facts. That's why we've got to confront it. I support President Obama's initiative to bring folks together, but we really do need legislative action and change in order to turn the situation around.
Hakeem Jeffries is the United States Congressman from Brooklyn and a little bit of Queens as well. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Wolf. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too.